Last Saturday, I went to the graveyard to visit my grandparents' graves. It was a nice day out. The sun was shining and the birds were tweeting. When I arrived at the graveyard, I parked my car and got out. Something big, dark, and humanoid was standing near one of the mausoleums. It was about 5 feet tall and looked like a giant shadowy figure. At first I thought it was a bear or a large dog, but when I got closer, I could see that it wasn't either. It didn't seem to be any kind of animal. There was no fur or feathers or scales anywhere, and yet it still moved like one. I walked to the area where my grandparents were buried. Its pale face and black eyes stared back at me accusingly. But every time I closed my eyes, I saw the creature from the graveyard. I knew I should call the police, but I was too afraid. Each step I took echoed loudly in the silence of the night. As I slowly opened the door, my blood ran cold. Its eyes glowed an eerie red in the darkness, and its mouth was twisted into a cruel smile. Standing on my doorstep was the creature from the graveyard. What if they didn't believe me? What if they thought I was crazy? I leaned against it, trying to catch my breath. I slowly climbed the attic stairs, each step creaking ominously. As I reached the top of the stairs, I heard a loud crash, followed by a guttural growl. I froze, my heart pounding in my chest. Whatever was up here was big and angry. What was this thing and what did it want? Was it here to kill me? The room was dusty and filled with cobwebs. I could barely make out the shapes of old furniture and boxes in the dim light. Suddenly I saw it. The creature was sitting in the corner, its eyes glowing red in the darkness. I knew I had to do something, but my fear was paralyzing me. He came and performed an exorcism, but it didn't do anything. The strange occurrences continued unabated. I couldn't take it anymore. I packed my things and left the house, never looking back. But every time I looked at the pendant, I was reminded of the terrifying ordeal I had endured. Some people might think it's all in my head, but I know what I experienced. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't what I found. When I got there, I noticed something strange. A new headstone had been erected since my last visit. And how could I stop the prophecy from coming true? I don't have the answers, but I'm still searching for them. Because if I can't stop the prophecy, we all might suffer the consequences. I turned around to see a tall, thin man with a sharp nose and piercing eyes. The man chuckled, a low guttural sound that sent shivers down my spine. "I am the one who has been watching you," he said. "I am the one who sent the creature from the graveyard." He was dressed in black robes, and his face was obscured by the shadows of his hood. It was dark and imposing, and I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread as I approached it. No amount of therapy or medication is going to fix this. I need to find a way to break the curse before it consumes me. First, it was small things, like objects moving from one place to another or lights flickering on and off. Then the incidents started to escalate. Doors would slam shut on their own, windows would shatter, and I would hear footsteps in the attic above my head. With a cry of pain, the creature let out a final scream, and then it was gone. Beneath its name and likeness were the words, "Here lies Beelzebub, Prince of Darkness." I froze in horror. Could it be? Had this creature been a demon all along? I never saw the creature again, but sometimes I still hear its echo in the darkness. Calling my name, I never know when it might return, and I live in constant fear of its next attack. The pendant hit its head, and it collapsed. "Because you are the chosen one, my dear," he said. "You are the one who will bring about the end of days. The pendant lay on the floor, its silver surface dented and scratched. And when I got there, I noticed that their headstones were covered in flowers and their graves had been visited recently. I carefully picked up the pendant, its coolness a soothing touch on my skin. Had it really been a spirit? And if so, why had it come to me? I froze. Could it be? Had the creature followed me home? My heart raced as I listened intently. Then I heard it again, 3 sharp knocks followed by a pause, and then 2 more knocks. I knew it wasn't the wind or the pipes, so one or something was outside my door. But as the days went by, it became clear that something else was happening here. I could feel a dark presence in the house with me at all times, and it seemed to be growing stronger. A creature from the graveyard? They'd probably just think I was crazy. I decided to keep it to myself. I stepped out onto my porch, but it was nowhere to be seen. I scanned the darkness, my heart pounding in my chest. Where could it have gone? Had it really vanished into thin air? Every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw a dark shape in the distance following me. I froze, listening intently. Then I heard it again, slow, deliberate footsteps. Someone or something was up there. I knew I should call the police, but I was too afraid. What would I say that a monster was in my attic? They'd probably just take me away in a straitjacket. I tried to ignore it, but the longer it stayed behind me, the more nervous I became. It was an ancient artifact passed down in my family that was supposed to ward off evil spirits. I quickly slipped it around my neck and crossed myself. The pendant was cool to the touch, and I felt a sense of calm wash over me. Maybe this thing wasn't real. Maybe it was just a figment of my imagination. Finally, I turned around to confront whatever was out there, but there was nothing behind me. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding and continued driving. After all, it wasn't hurt, and it seemed to be avoiding me. So I left it alone and went back to my car. I don't know who did it, but it brought me some comfort, knowing that other people still thought of them fondly. After paying my respects, I turned to leave. That's when I noticed something strange. As I approached the creature, it shuffled over to another part of the graveyard and disappeared behind a row of headstones. Curiosity got the better of me, so I walked over to the headstones and peered around them to try and get a better look at whatever was hiding behind them. Just then, the creature turned around and saw me. Its face was pale and gray, and its eyes were black pits. It opened its mouth to scream, but no sound came out. Then it vanished into thin air. I stood there, stunned for a moment, not knowing what to do next. Should I call the police? What would I even tell them? As I drove home, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. That night I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned in bed trying to get comfortable. At around 3 a.m. I heard a knock on my door. With trembling hands, I got out of bed and crept towards the door. I screamed and slammed the door shut. Then I remembered the silver pendant I wore around my neck. I cautiously opened the door a crack and peered out. The creature was gone. Suddenly, I heard a noise inside my house. It sounded like footsteps in the attic above my head. I decided to investigate myself. Mustering all my courage, I turned on the attic light and started to explore. It opened its mouth to scream, but I cut it off by hurling the pendant at it. In the morning light, the attic seemed normal. There was no sign of the creature anywhere. You see, after the creature was gone, strange things started happening around the house. Days turned into weeks, and the memory of that night began to fade. But that's not the worst part. I tried to ignore it at first, thinking it was just my imagination playing tricks on me. I was desperate for help, so I called a priest. But even now, years later, I can still feel its presence watching me, waiting for me to return. So I went back to the graveyard to see if I could find some answers. As I got closer, I saw that it was for the creature from the graveyard. Suddenly, I heard a voice behind me. Looking for something? Hesitated, unsure of what to say. "Who are you?" I asked finally. My blood ran cold. "Why?" I whispered. The man's eyes flashed with amusement. Before I could respond, the man vanished, leaving me alone in the graveyard with my thoughts. What did he mean? Why had I been chosen?